the Nashville 2 podcast with your host, Edward Fox.
G'day, viewers and listeners. It's Ed Fox back with another amazing episode of Nashville 2. You know what makes Nashville 2 amazing episodes? The guests. That's right. So you should come on as a guest on our show. I got something in my eye. If you have, if you know somebody that is doing something cool in the community, maybe they have a business that they need to talk about and promote, and we can brag on them for a bit. Maybe they're a nonprofit. Maybe they're a mentor for somebody or something. If they're doing something cool in the community, we want to hear from them. And today, my special guest is Frank Marghella of Ideal Health and Wellness Center. Did I get that right? You
got it.
Hey, Frank, great to have you on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
No worries. And we ran into each other. We were at OPEX Franklin, the Tara and Dennis and Tara Cheatham's gym. So I'm like, oh, dude, you got to come on my podcast. You've got your own podcast, don't you?
Yeah. So I do a podcast called Sporting Good Posture, and I've done almost 100 episodes now. We're actually coming up to the 100th episode.
That's amazing. Like, I'm looking forward to my 100th episode. I think this one's about 71, 72, somewhere in there, maybe 75. Yeah. Anyway, my daughter keeps track of all of that. Thank goodness I don't have to do that side. But I love the play on words. I knew we had something in common because, you know, I'm a punny guy. So Sporting Good Posture. At 56, I still love to play the sport of cricket. You worked on any cricketers, Frank?
No, that's one of the few sports I haven't worked on.
There you go.
I do a lot of sports, but not cricket yet.
What do you see when people come to your office from the sporting field? I would imagine that you're with all sorts of different athletes, right?
Yeah, so we work with a lot of different athletes, and that's kind of what got me into chiropractic as a kid. Is I got hurt, back injuries, knee injuries playing football, and it led me to go to a chiropractor and see the great benefits of it. And had a last good couple of years of high school football, not getting injured and everything. And it was something I wanted to do. And then also I love working with athletes because I love sports. And I wanted to work with, you know, younger kids too, because a lot of people have those injuries in high school and middle school that linger then beyond, you know, into their adult years. But also if they're trying to actually get a scholarship or really play competitively in high school and possibly college, I want them to be healthy, you know, and be able to do that. So I started working with a lot more athletes now, middle school and high school. And I work with a lot of adults too, that just, you know, still work out and still want to stay active.
Okay. And, you know, I normally start the show a certain way, and I forgot to do that this time because I just wanted to jump. I just decided to jump right in. But you don't sound like you're from Middle Tennessee.
No, I grew up in Long Island, in New York, Massapequa. And I've been in Nashville now for 17 years.
Okay, so you got a little bit of it. So when you first got here, I had a lady at, I was in Kroger the other day. My wife is a pharmacy manager for Kroger. And I was in Kroger shopping when I first got down here about 3 years ago. And I almost ran this little old lady over with a, what do you call them? Buggies, carts, trolleys? I don't know what you call them down here.
Yeah.
And she goes, bless your heart. Have you ever been on the receiving end of a bless your heart?
Yeah, there's been a few times of those, and it's this Southern way of being, you know, kind of facetious, but not really, you know, trying to insult you badly.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Or bless your heart, you're so precious, or, you know, something like, you know, that is like, when this happened, I said, oh, thank you. And my wife, after the lady left, she said she was calling you an idiot. I'm like, what? You almost ran her over with the cart. I'm like, oh, well, that makes sense. So bless your heart wasn't a problem. But then I've had bless your heart. You're so nice. That's a good one. So you can use it in two ways. Okay. So originally from New York, how did you end up then in the Nashville market?
So when I was in college, my parents moved to New Hampshire. And so I went to Gettysburg College in Pennsylvania, and they moved to New Hampshire. And then while they were up there, also went to chiropractic school in Iowa. And when I finished school, I had a choice to go home, you know, to live in New Hampshire or possibly go back to New York. And just something told me I didn't want to be up there anymore. I just, you know, I wanted something warmer. I figured if I was on my own, I wanted to get somewhere where it was a little bit cheaper for me to be, you know, have my own apartment.
Right.
And I wanted to go in the South. So there was a guy that I knew that had a bunch of clinics in Middle Tennessee or in the Midwest and all over the South. And really, Nashville was the only place I was really looking at. I had a couple of criteria though. As a Northerner, we have a lot of pro sports, so I wanted a place where I could have pro sports and have warmer weather. So Nashville was really the only place that kind of fit those bills in the South. And I moved here. I got in my car. I didn't know anybody, I didn't know anything. I just got in my car, drove down here, and kind of found my way and met my wife. That first year I was here, and I met her October of 2007. And I met her actually playing kickball, of all things.
Okay.
I used to go out when I first moved here, and I just try to meet people. So I would go out to some bars or restaurants and just do some things with people. And one night I saw some people dressed up in these uniforms at Tin Roof downtown, and I wanted to see what they were doing. So I just went over and talked to them, and I said, "Hey, can I play on your team?" And they said, "Yeah." So I started playing on the team, and then my wife would go down and watch everybody play kickball, and we ended up hitting it off, started dating, and then we ended up getting married a couple of years later.
Cool. And so big sports guy, I see you wearing a Preds hat. You going to the game tonight?
Yeah, so I'm going to the Preds game tonight. I'm taking my kids. That's probably their favorite thing. I've tried to take them to other sports and they always say no, but every year they beg me to go to the Preds game. So we're big Preds fans, and we're going to the game tonight against the Ducks.
Oh, cool. Well, have fun. I do enjoy the Preds game. I like Nashville, right? So I got to go to my first NHL game here. I got to go to my first football game here. And I've gone to a baseball game out in Anaheim, California. So those have been my 3 professional sports in America. And then just this July, I got to go to Europe. In England. Australia was playing England at the cricket, and I got to go to the home of cricket and watch a couple of days of that test match, that cricket match. So I've been hitting all the sports venues this last couple of years that I had never done before in my life. And it's a blast. I understand why people like to go. The atmosphere is amazing. Don't like paying $7 for a little bitty something or other, but I do enjoy the atmosphere.
Yeah. I love doing that too. Over the years, I've kind of made it one of my goals to try to hit up either baseball stadiums or football stadiums, as many states as I can go to. So I've gone to probably a dozen of each over the years. So my goal is to go to all of them for both baseball and football at some point.
Awesome. And then for you, were you a footballer? I think we talked about.
Yeah, so growing up, I played high school football, and I played a lot of sports, but then in high school ended up focusing on football, and I really wanted to play in college, but I ended up just wanting to I didn't really get much of a scholarship, so I ended up just working on my sciences and everything because I knew I wanted to be a chiropractor. And then after I went to Gettysburg, I went to chiropractic school, and I love that. I went to Iowa for that. And that was an adventure in itself because Iowa is really in the middle of nowhere. It's not a place I'd ever want to live or ever want to really visit again. But it was a great school I went to, so I was glad.
Iowa, we love you. We love you. I understand that Iowa stands for idiots out wandering around is what I was told. So I've been to Iowa, so I was one of those idiots out there wandering around. But 30 years in Kansas, so right next door, sort of like just south and west. So 30 years in Kansas. Not a lot of difference between Kansas, Nebraska, and Iowa. Although I did hear something funny when I first got there, other than the idiots out wandering around. And what do you call them? Anagram? Is it anagram? Yeah, I think so. And then they said because Kansas is very windy. And one of my friends said, "You know why Kansas is so windy?" I said, "No," and I'm going to get some hate for this, but that's okay. Because Nebraska sucks and Oklahoma blows. That's why Kansas is so windy. I'm like, I'm a punny guy. I've given you my round to it, and I've done the dad jokes and stuff. So that really appealed to me. Not that we really think that about those places, but yeah, a lot of that people, especially you guys from New York or from LA, right? They think about the flyover state. So I was going to ask you why Iowa. Now, I believe that their chiropractic school there is really good, but I'm sure there's other chiropractic schools as well. But why Iowa?
So the reason I picked Iowa is Palmer College of Chiropractic is the original chiropractic school in the world. So it's the first one, and it's in Davenport, Iowa, which is right on the Mississippi River. And I went there because I knew it was a good school. There's only about a dozen chiropractic schools anyway, and I wanted to go to one of the original 4 or so, and then that one just kept calling to me about going to the original one. It has a really cool history there, and just a lot of things I learned at school that I wouldn't have learned at other schools, just from the history of chiropractic. So I really enjoyed learning more about that and being there and kind of engulfed where it all started.
Right. Well, and that's awesome. So I love that you had a methodology. It's not like just, oh, well, they accepted me, that's where I am. But what I want to talk about a little bit on chiropractic, with you having a sports background and playing sports yourself, that must come in really handy when you're treating these athletes that you see all the time from middle school all the way up to adult, right?
Absolutely. Because really, any injury that comes in, I've had it. I've had all these injuries. I've had knee sprains, ankle sprains. I've had a separated shoulder. I've had disc problems in my neck and my back. I've had elbow issues. I've torn muscles and pulled muscles. And, so when somebody comes in, there's nothing that I haven't seen yet that I haven't personally dealt with. And then also I'm still actively working out, playing sports with my kids and just staying involved and doing that. So I do have a good outlook on those things. So when people come in, I have really good protocols about helping them get better, but also, just like I said, because I've had those injuries. The other funny thing is I'm big into fantasy football and fantasy baseball. And when I see these guys get hurt, I really know a lot more, I feel like, and it helps give me an advantage. I've won a lot of these leagues because I can know the timelines better of these injuries and see if somebody came back too early or maybe isn't going to be 100%. So it actually helps me a lot when I'm playing fantasy sports too.
Gives him an edge, folks. That's what you heard. So, okay. So you get into chiropractic care, you go to school in Iowa, you come to Nashville, you're working on that stuff, meet your wife in the Nashville area, married, two kiddos. You also do some other stuff, though, at Ideal Health and Wellness Center that's not just chiropractic care, right? Talk about some of the other things you offer.
Yeah, we do a lot more than just a regular chiropractic office, because we do a lot of weight loss services. So we have something called ChiroThin that helps people lose typically 20 to 30 pounds on average in about 6 weeks. We also have a lipo laser weight loss tool that basically uses LED lights to help shrink fat cells and do body contouring. So people lose a lot of inches and really smooth out, if they're dealing with cellulite or any loose skin or stretch marks. It helps with that, along with the weight loss programs that we have. We even do custom orthotics, because I come across, as an athlete, I had the opportunity to work with a company called Foot Levelers, and I really like their orthotics. I've worked with 3 or 4 other companies, and I feel like they've been the best one. And that was the one thing I feel like was missing when I was a kid, is I went to the chiropractor, but I didn't have orthotics. And that was something I wish I had, because I used to get shin splints all the time. I'd get plantar fasciitis. I had turf toe. I had knee problems and low back stiffness. And a lot of it was due to not having orthotics. And if I had that at a younger age, I know that I would have had even less injuries. So that's something else we do. We do a custom foot scan, have custom orthotics that we make for patients. And then we even do laser treatments for like plantar fasciitis or, shoulder sprains or elbow tendonitis, back issues, neck issues. And we even do spinal decompression, where you lay on a table that gently opens up those discs. So if you have degenerative discs or sciatica, we have a lot of treatments that we can combine to really help, reduce the swelling and the disc bulges.
So the idea of an Idea Health and Wellness Center is exactly that. It's not just chiropractic care. It's all this other stuff as well. And where are you located in Middle Tennessee?
So I'm in Cool Springs in Franklin, right by the Cool Springs Mall on Seaboard Lane. We've been there. I was there. First, I was in Bellevue after I moved to Tennessee, and I was there for about 8 years. And I've now been in Cool Springs for 8 years. So I'm probably about 4 or 5 blocks from Costco, 4 or 5 blocks or so from the mall. So I'm right in the heart of Cool Springs there.
So folks, if you're looking for some of the stuff that we've talked about Frank's a great guy, and I would highly recommend you go check out his center. I've got it over here on the screen, which is why I keep looking away. So if you see me looking away, I'm not watching a movie on Netflix or something over here. I'm reading the stuff that I asked him to provide, so to make sure I don't miss anything. And so speaking of that, okay, we know you're a big sports guy. I got to get you out on the cricket field sometime, or we can do it in the driveway. We can use a cricket bat and a tennis ball. And
I'd love to.
Play cricket. You girls might be into that too. That might be good. Are they into any particular? You said they don't like necessarily going to sports other than Preds, but do they play or they participate?
Yeah, so my daughter is big into volleyball. My oldest daughter, she's 12, she's in 7th grade. So we've been working with her a lot. Like I've gotten her some orthotics that she can use. It really helps her on the court. Right. And then that's the other cool thing about being a chiropractor and a dad is that I get to help my kids with all the injuries they get. So any kind of bumps and bruises they get, any kind of just wear and tear stuff, I can laser them, I can do adjustments with them. We have, orthotics they use. So that I feel like gives them an advantage to stay healthy while they're playing sports. Especially my oldest now, she's really into volleyball, and hopefully, she'll be on the high school team someday. And then my youngest is just kind of a daredevil right now. She's not really into organized sports yet, but man, she just is always into something. And just the other day, like she was riding her electric scooter and she took a huge spill, slammed her elbow on the ground and was really actually hurting a lot. So the other cool thing is I was able to go to my office, take some x-rays of it, and realize it wasn't broken, but it was really badly bruised and just really swollen. But I was able to do a lot of laser treatments on her, and she got better a lot faster, I feel like, because I was doing that from the beginning. So I feel like I'm lucky, and they're lucky that we have those access to those things. But yeah, they love sports, and I'm hoping my youngest maybe plays volleyball or softball, in the future. So once she gets involved with the sports, that's kind of where I think she's going to go.
Well, and the thing that's amazed me most about my chiropractic care has been just the wellness aspect. Just getting an adjustment. I had a neck injury from something stupid I'd done years ago, but just the wellness aspect of how much better I felt. So I got adjusted one day, and then I'm diabetic, right? So I get adjusted, and I hadn't really been watching my sugars. So, some of the things that diabetics do. Man, my blood sugar plummeted in a good way, right? Yeah. I was at 280. I go get adjusted, and about half an hour later, I haven't taken any insulin. I'm about to get something sugary, and my wife's like, "You sure you should do that? Like, how are your sugars?" I'm like, "Oh, I haven't checked, And I've got an app on my phone now because we've got these things on our arms, and it had dropped from like 280, which is bad. It shouldn't be up that high, and it had dropped like right down into the 150, between 150 and 100. And the only thing I'd done is got a chiropractic adjustment. Is that normal? Like, is that something that can happen?
Yeah, that's a really cool experience, because we've actually had that happen in our office too with a lot of patients. I'm finding them, their blood pressure gets better, their diabetes gets better, their cholesterol is getting better. Just a lot of things that they thought they could never control. Their sleep is getting better. And the reason why is because when your body has interference in the nervous system, those nerves can't go to the organs that they're supposed to go to. So when you remove the interference and get an adjustment, now the nerves work closer to 100%, which means your body's going to work more at 100%. And then you'll regulate your blood sugar better, your sleep will be better, better energy, less pain, less inflammation. So your body, not only is chiropractic good for pain, but it really is good for function and wellness. And anybody that gets adjusted, it immediately boosts your immune system. There's some chemicals that get released when you get adjusted that really do boost your immune system. So I always tell people in the holidays, people get sick a lot at this time of year. Well, the people that get adjusted more typically don't get as sick because their immune system's boosted at this time of year. So I always tell people, hey, don't miss your adjustments just because you're busy wrapping gifts and stuff. Make sure you get in here.
As a business owner, it can be tiring paying cash for everything you need. Well, there's a better way. Introducing Trade Bank of Nashville. Our bartering service lets you exchange goods and services without the need for cash transactions. Trade Bank helps businesses like yours reduce expenses, bring in new business, and keep your cash where you need it most. Find out more and join our barter network today. Start getting what you need without paying cash, because sometimes barter is just smarter. Apply today at nashville.tradebank.com.
Right. Yeah. Well, it totally amazed me because I'd never had that experience before. And so I think sometimes do you still have trouble with the way people perceive chiropractic care?
Yeah, there's still some stigmas with it. The good thing is that over the years now, chiropractic, just the education part of it, has really gotten more on par with, like what a medical college does. And really, if you ever compare the education a chiropractor gets compared to like a medical doctor, the only thing that we don't do is the pharmaceutical part of it. So as far as like, I feel like we're superior with x-rays, with anatomy, with physiology, and diagnosing sports injuries and musculoskeletal things way better than a lot of other professions, because not only can we see the x-ray part of it, but also we have the training in the musculoskeletal system and the nervous system. And I feel like if you're really fixing things, the cause of the problem, and not just using, pain pills or whatever, you can actually fix those things, or at least get them a lot better so that your body can start going back to normal again.
Right. Yeah. And I think because medical doctors, it's a lot of years of schooling, but it's on little touches on so many different things, right? Whereas you guys get to focus on the what do you call it?
Musculoskeletal. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing is, there's a place for everybody, and medical doctors are excellent when you have something that, like emergencies, especially emergencies, like you got to go to a hospital. That's something I couldn't do in my clinic. But as far as, what we do is we work on the body itself, trying to find the cause of the issue and really fix the cause of the problem. And then the body then responds in a positive way. So I feel like over the years, I've been able to work with a lot of medical doctors and orthopedists and PTs, because I see the value of all those services. But as far as removing the interference on the nervous system, adjusting the spine so that your body's in balance, I do feel like the chiropractor profession does that the best. And I feel like for sports, you can see now every pro team and all the major colleges and the Olympic teams all have chiropractors on there, multiple chiropractors that they work with, because they see the value in treating the cause of the issue, not just doing, injections and giving pain pills and stuff like that. I feel like they see the value of actually treating the athlete at the root cause of the problem.
Right. Yeah, I think you're exactly right. So, okay. So now I've got a question, because you lived in Massapequa, New York, right?
Yep.
Can you spell that off the top of your head?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
Massapequa.
Okay. Yeah, you got it. Okay, that's a point for you. Okay.
So Long Island is mostly like Native American names of the towns.
Right.
So it's funny, if you ever watch something on like Instagram or whatever, they'll ask, "Oh, how do you say this? How do you say this?" And they'll go through people, and most of the people get it wrong, even the people that live there.
Right. Well, so Australia's the same way, right? With Aboriginal names, we have a lot of Corabrenabri, Currajong. My grandfather said, "Well, yeah, what about Kickatinalong and Come by Chance?" I said, "Yeah, I don't think those are Aboriginal names, but there's a cricket ground at Woolloongabba, and they just call it the Gabba for short. But you know how you guys like have with Mississippi, Missippi, whatever. So we have ours. It's Woolloomooloo, WOOLOOMOOLOO. Right? is our like Mississippi version of that. So I always find it interesting. My first guest today, she got extra points because she used my favorite word, plethora. She used a plethora. So I'm like, okay, bonus points for plethora. So it was pretty fun. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what you do when you're not working and you're not going to sporting games. What are some of your hidden gems around Middle Tennessee?
So there's a few that I listed for you, and I'll start with probably my most favorite one is Arrington Vineyards. Okay. And if anybody lives in Middle Tennessee, it's in Arrington, Tennessee, which is about 35, 40 minutes south of Nashville, like downtown Nashville. I live in Nolensville, so it's only about 15, 20 minutes from my house. But they opened a vineyard about 16, 17 years ago in Arrington. Kix Brooks is the one that owns the vineyard. He's a famous country singer.
Okay.
And he's been there for a long time, and they've slowly acquired more land. But it's a really great vineyard, and they have a lot of open area. They have live music there. They have wine tastings. They have tastings you can do that they'll pair food with it, where you can eat certain foods, and then they'll pair the wine with it, and you can have little small groups that do that. You can go up there and just kind of have a little picnic. You can, I like the places where I can bring my kids. So the 3 that I listed are places that you can also bring kids, and it's a great family-friendly place. The sunsets are beautiful there. The scenery's very beautiful there. And actually, I also got engaged there. That's what I asked my wife to marry me there. So that's one of my favorite places.
So yeah, and we have viewers and listeners that come onto the show to hear just the hidden gems. I had somebody message me the other day that said they liked that element of the podcast, because even though they live in Middle Tennessee, they had never heard of some of the places that people talk about, right? Like, we all think everybody's heard of Loveless Cafe. I get to Nashville, you hear about Loveless Cafe, you hear about Percy Priest Lake, but for every one of us that has heard about it, there's probably half a dozen that haven't. And
That's
so
right.
having these different places. So the next one was interesting to me. What was it called? I'm sorry, I got to scroll down. Pins Mechanical Company. Tell me about that.
So it's funny. I was at a Sounds game a couple months ago, and I had been to this place before, but it had been a while. So I go. My daughter was at the Sounds game. We ended up leaving a little bit early, and I'm like, well, let me take you somewhere. So this Pins Mechanical place is close by, downtown Nashville, right by where the Sounds play. And I took her over there. And what's cool is it's really for both adults and kids. They have duck pin bowling, which, if you don't know what that is, it's those little skinny pins, and you have a little ball like a shot put size ball. And instead of 2 shots, you actually can get up to 3 shots that you get to throw the ball. The lanes are a little bit smaller, and the pins just kind of get pulled up by a mechanical thing, and then they put them back down. But it's a fun way to do duck pin bowling, like bowling, because it's easier for kids to play because it's not that long alley and the heavy ball. It's a small ball that even kids can hold on to. So we played some of that. And then what's also cool is they have all these old school video games there. They have, like, if you like arcade games, they have all the old school, like Mike Tyson's Punch-Out, Ninja Turtles, all the Marvel comic ones, all the old school games, Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, the original Mario Brothers, like everything that's on there you can imagine. And then they have all these old school pinball machines, because you don't really come across them anymore. So, and actually the video games are free. The pinball machines cost, maybe like 50 cents or so, but this stuff is pretty cheap, and they let you play these things. The bowling, especially on Sunday, kids bowl free. So I typically go there on Sunday, and it's only like $6 for the adults to play. So then the kids are free. And then we play, a few games on there. So it's really not that much money you're spending. And then they also have skee ball upstairs. And they also just built this huge slide that goes from the second floor to the first floor on the outside. So you go in the slide, and it goes down to the outside part where they have an outside area where people have little fire pits out there, and they have a bar out there, and they have a bunch of TVs so you can watch football. They have inside games, like you can play ping pong. You can play these games where you have these garbage cans where you take balls and throw these balls into a garbage can. So they just have a lot of fun little games that you can play. They have food trucks that come there, so you can get food from the food trucks, and they have all sorts of drinks there. But I even saw kids having birthday parties in there. So it's really a cool place. And I definitely recommend people to take their kids there and take their family.
Is there a cover charge? Like, do you pay a flat fee to get in the door?
So no, you don't even have to pay a cover charge. So you go in there, and I think they do some live music at some points too, but there's no cover charge, which is nice too. So you can kind of go in there. Some people go in there and just play the video games. Like, you could go in there and play the video games and not even spend any money if you didn't want to buy anything else. But I recommend going in there. They have TVs everywhere to watch sports. They have a bunch of different bars. They have probably 20 bowling lanes for these duck pin bowling. So it really is a lot of fun. And I really, my kids love it too. So I can't wait to go back there
I'm
with
gonna
them.
check that out. I don't think I've been to that one. I think there's another arcade type place. Is this one in an industrial area or is this in a retail area?
It's more of like a little bit of an industrial area. So they're still kind of building up around there.
Okay.
But I think it's on like 11th. Um, it's like 11th and Church or so on that side, on the, a little bit west of Broadway and Church Street over there.
Right. Well, folks, we'll have the website and the address. It says 1102 Grundy Street, Nashville.
Yeah.
We'll have that in the
There's
show.
a lot of apartment buildings there and a lot of like
Right.
industrial stuff over there.
Okay. So we've got 2 out of the 3. What's your third hidden gem?
So I live in Nolensville, and there's a little brewery called Mill Creek Brewery. And if you've ever been to, the Sounds games or the Predators games or Titans games, they actually have a lot of these beers at those games. One of them being the Little Darling was one of my favorite ones. But they have several beers that they're kind of famous for. But it's a local brewery, and what they did is they turned this place into you can eat there. You can have drinks there. You can watch sports there. And then they have an outside area with picnic tables. So you can go out there. Like if your kids want to play outside, they have a whole area just like of grass and kids can run around out there. Kids were bringing toys and all that kind of stuff. And the weather's been great lately. So we've gone there a number of times, but it has really good food. There's a food truck that's like inside the place.
Right. Yep.
It's parked in there, which is really cool. I have really good food, and then they have the great craft beers there, and they have all regular beers. They have some wines and stuff too. But again, it's a nice place you can take your kids and your family and just have a good time and just hang out.
Yeah, and you can also do events there. I think I've been to like Connect Nashville does some mixes there, 150 people. So yeah, you can do that too. So I love those. I hadn't heard of 2 of them. So I have been to Mill Creek Brewing, but Arrington Vineyards I'd not heard of, nor the mechanical company. So thanks for sharing those.
Oh, good. I'm glad to get you some new stuff.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if people want to check you out, are you active on social media? Where's the best place for them to find you?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook. It's Ideal Health and Wellness Center on Facebook. And then I'm on Instagram at Ideal Health Wellness Center, all one word on Instagram. Those are the main 2 areas that I'm at. And then my website is idealhealthwellnesscenter.com. And if you can email me on there. I got a little chat bot that's on there that I can answer some questions with people. And then if you can DM me on Instagram or Facebook, and I'm pretty good about responding, pretty quickly to requests on there.
Cool. And here's a question that I've been asking people lately, not on the podcast, actually, just in general. What is something that you always wish you're asked about, and when people talk to you, they don't ask about it? Do you have anything like that you're like, oh, I love talking about this, but nobody ever asks about it?
That's a good question. I think maybe more about, like with chiropractic, a lot of people come to me and just ask about headaches and back pain, but there's so many cool things. Like I went to lunch today. I'm off on Tuesday. So on Tuesdays, I try to go eat lunch with my daughter. And one of the dads of another daughter was there, and we just got to be talking. And he mentioned that he had plantar fasciitis, and he didn't even know that a chiropractor could help with something like that. And we had a whole protocol that could help. So I think that people don't always know that chiropractors can do more than just, neck and back stuff and headaches. Like I actually work with a lot of, knee injuries, foot injuries, shoulder injuries, carpal tunnel, elbow injuries, a lot of extremity injuries that people don't always think of. And I've helped a lot of people not get surgery over the years, especially like for disc problems or like, torn rotator cuffs, depending on how much it is. I can typically get people back to playing or just at least to the point where they're not hurting so bad and need the surgery anymore. So that's something I wish that people knew more about, was just that chiropractic is more than just, neck and back pain.
Right. Well, yeah. And I had a chiropractor in my networking group in Wichita where I lived for 30 years. And one of the things that she talked about was just the overall health. Like she had a person that had trouble with digestive system and constipation and stuff. And she said that chiropractic care was really helping them. And I would have never have thought of that, right? It would have never have been something that crossed my mind.
Yeah. It's kind of like when you were mentioning about the blood sugar thing. And it goes back to, like, I have this really cool nerve chart in my office when a new patient comes in, and every nerve has a different function, and it shows you, like what areas go to, like the stomach, the spleen, the kidneys, the intestines. It has every nerve has a purpose. And if you have interference in those areas, you typically have those symptoms. And once you start clearing up those interferences, then things start, like, blood sugar starts dropping. So sometimes it's not always about like what you're eating and what you're doing. It's actually, if your body is just having interference in it, no matter what you're doing, you may not be able to fix that problem. So if you remove that interference, that's really the root cause of that problem. And then the problems just start getting better.
It's like tying a knot in a garden hose.
Yeah.
Once you can untie that knot, the water's going to flow better.
That's exactly right.
Okay. Frank, do you have a favorite book or audio you're listening to right now that you would recommend?
So I was reading this book by Les Dane. It's a prospecting book. It's just basically how to talk to people, where if you're trying to just help people, refer people into your office and things like that. So it's something I was just learning how to help people know what to say to other people if they're talking about chiropractic or whatever. So it's Les Dane. It's a prospecting book. I just forgot the name of it, but it's a really good book.
Are you reading it or listening to it?
So I've been reading. I just got it because actually it's out of circulation.
Okay.
And it was a while ago. Let me see if I can find this. It's called Strike It Rich Sales Prospecting. And it's a really good book. I just got it. I just started reading it. And it's not in publication where I actually had to buy it on Amazon, but it was like it's a used book.
Right.
But it's really good for people that are in business, that are trying to make connections and really create, they call them bird dogs, basically. So they help you, you find somebody at a certain place and they help you refer to the areas that you need business in, or just so they learn how to do a referral. Because sometimes if somebody goes and tells something about something, it may not be the right way for them to learn about it. So it's better if you help educate them how to do that referral. It's typically going to lead to a better referral for at least a business.
Right. And so in today's language, and I know what a bird dog is, we know what a bird dog is for those people that hunt, but I know what a bird dog is in sales. Now I think they're calling them brand ambassadors. Those people that can promote your brand. Okay. Do you have a favorite quote?
So it's one my dad used to say, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And that's been a favorite quote of mine. He passed away when I was in high school, but he had always said that to me. And over the years, I've tried to really, I've had some struggles just with him passing away and just having to move all around the country and just moving to places I didn't know anybody, and just really kind of starting everything from scratch everywhere I went. And, I'm not finished yet, but I feel like I'm on the way up where, he would be proud of what I'm doing today.
Awesome. And on that note, Frank, it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thanks so much.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I'd love to do this again sometime too.
You bet. Oh,
I need to get you on my podcast.
Yeah, so let's talk a little. Okay, folks, this is your bonus material. So we were going to end the podcast, but I'm not right now. We're going to add another 5 minutes or so. Tell me the format of your podcast and do a little promotion of the podcast, because people that listen to podcasts, we can't get enough content. So
I started doing the podcast just because I wanted more information that I could send out to people. So sometimes a patient comes in that wants to do the weight loss program, and they'll ask me about, how does it work and everything. And I'll say, hey, listen to season 4, episode 4 of my podcast. I interviewed the actual founder of the ChiroThin program, and I did about a 20-minute interview with him. I've been able to interview, people over the years, like in certain health aspects. I've had some athletes on, like some pro athletes. Grant Fuhr, for instance, was a Hall of Fame goalie. I had him on last year on the program. I've had one of the Predators players on my program. And I've had some other athletes in the area, some bodybuilders on there, and just some other people in the healthcare industry, and just people that are health minded. And then I also do a lot of solo episodes on specific health conditions, whether it's headaches, car accidents, weight loss, sleep. There's always a podcast about that typically between 20 and 30 minutes long. And I really enjoy doing them because it gets the information out there and it gives me more time to talk to somebody when I normally couldn't really talk to them for more than a few minutes.
Right. And the podcast is called Sporting, spelled like sporting good posture. Right.
Yep.
And so they could search for specific episodes for specific things if they wanted.
Yeah. And the other cool thing is we're on season 5 now. So I typically do themes with and this year is Back to the Future. So we did a lot of themed podcasts, kind of playing on, like talking about, you like the puns and everything,
right,
playing on the words from Back to the Future and doing the themes of that in the podcast itself.
Oh, that's fun.
So we've done that. I'm looking at doing next year. I'm thinking we're going to do a Seinfeld one. So it's going to be a podcast about nothing. But it'll be about little subjects of things, but we'll have some play on words about Seinfeld stuff. Oh, there you go. There's the Seinfeld apartment.
That's what I thought. Seinfeld. So I just changed my Zoom background to the Seinfeld apartment. I get confused sometimes between the Friends ones and the Seinfeld ones. This is another passion of mine, is books. I love books. I don't have enough room for books, but I love books, So if you need me to make a Zoom background for you, because one of my favorites is also this, is I love doing one-to-ones. Let's catch up, right? So it's the play on puns.
Oh, I like that.
But I'm just starting to show this one to people. Is I'm getting little figurines made. They're 7.5 inches, and they see the little button there between the feet. That's gonna play 101 dad jokes in 9 minutes.
That's great.
So he's funny, he's punny, he's special, and so we're leaning into the I say Australian by birth, American by choice, but this figurine's holding a koala, so he's got all the qualifications, he's fully qualified, and we're just
running the American flag,
and we're doing the American flag because America is the best country on the planet. My sisters get mad when I say that, but I can't help it if it's true. It's funny because it's true, right? So these are going to go on sale. My friend said I should sell them on 4th of July for $17.76. I thought,
oh yeah, those are cool.
That's appealing. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. There we go. There's the green screen. Just I don't know.
Another a funny thing is that Seinfeld actually went to my high school. So he's from Massapequa.
Okay.
And it's funny because growing up, we knew about that. Him and then also the Baldwin brothers were all from Massapequa. And when I was a kid, they actually donated money to our school to have our auditorium is now the Baldwin Auditorium. They gave a lot of money for our football field and things over the years. But we even had one of his textbooks. Seinfeld had one of his textbooks that, every year, you write your name there. Well, the teacher I had one of his textbooks because it was just still in circulation for so long. And there was a signature, back in the 70s when he was at that school.
That's funny. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Where I grew up, nothing cool like that. So I grew up in western suburbs of Sydney, trailer trash type area growing up. I think our house was the worst house on the street. And then dad started digging out because it was on a slope and the whole house started to shift.
Oh no.
During a rainstorm, and it was crazy. But I love living in Nashville. I'm in Franklin, Tennessee, but I love Middle Tennessee. It's a lot like Australia, except that over the mountains there's not a beach, right? In Australia you go over the mountains and there's the beach. But I do love the people I've met, and Nashville too has allowed me to do some amazing conversations with individuals that I would have never have met if I didn't do the podcast. So I'm sure you do the same thing with your podcast, is you get to talk to people that you would never get to talk to otherwise.
Yeah, it's been really cool. It's a great way to get the word out, but also I get to interview people that I've always wanted to interview, and I hope as the show grows that I'm able to interview more of these athletes that I've always wanted to talk to over the years.
Right. Yeah, and I tell you what, I've been on LinkedIn, and it's amazing. I'm a big cricket guy, so I love playing and talking about the sport of cricket, and virtually every international cricket player has a LinkedIn profile. Now, none of them have connected with me yet, but some of them will. Like sooner or later, some of them will.
Absolutely.
I'll probably have to do a cricket podcast too. So, but we'll leave it there. That's a dream for another day. Frank, it was great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
This is the Nashville 2 podcast with your host, Edward Fox.